This video is sponsored by Evoto AI, an intelligent photo editing assistant that accelerates your photo retouching tasks by 10 times. I just came from Patagonia where I was taking photos both with my APS-C camera, Sony A6700, as well as full frame Sony A7IV. And what you see now on the screen is a side-by-side comparison between the two with not that noticeable difference in quality, I would say. Nevertheless, on my next trip to Madeira Island, I left my full frame at home and took just the APS-C camera. And the reason is that I didn't feel that I'm really missing out. On paper, full frame is superior in many ways, but when looking at these images and videos side by side, I feel like unless you are a professional and super demanding, you don't really need to spend that extra for full frame camera. APS-C is enough for most. In fact, I would even go so far to argue that a newer APS-C camera has a couple of advantages over some full-frame cameras. Let's take a closer look. First, and perhaps the most important advantage, is the price, and this goes way beyond the price of the camera, so stick around to hear this through, how deep it actually goes. Yes, obviously APS-C cameras can easily cost half the price of a full frame, which allows more people to afford a new camera, but another huge thing is price of the lenses. Full frame lenses are quite pricey. Now we are blessed with a lot more affordable third-party lenses, but APS-C has advantage here as there's just more to choose from. And you can use both the full frame and the APS-C lenses on your APS-C cameras, while technically you can only use the full frame lenses on full frame cameras. But this is where things get very interesting. APS-C cameras are smaller, lighter, more compact, and so are most of the lenses, which is great to carry them places and, not break our backs. But the coolest thing is, it costs you less to have a smaller setup. Let me explain. If you were to have a large cinema camera with cinema lens, you would need a big gimbal that supports a heavy payload. But for a compact setup like this, a mini gimbal will do the job. Easier for your back and of course for your wallet. Same thing with tripods or even filters. If you were to buy a variable ND filter, usually the smaller size costs less. Not a biggie, but due to the crop factor of APS-C sensor, a 400mm lens actually gives you about 600mm reach. So if you're in a wildlife or bird photography, APS-C cameras can actually come in handy. You can even use like a full frame lens like 200 to 600mm to get an even bigger reach. However, you do need to be careful with the conditions as, full frame cameras generally do perform better in challenging environments. And one last thing before we jump to the downsides, some APS-C cameras, such as this Sony A6700, has even more features than my A7IV. A6700 can shoot 11 frames versus 10 on A7IV. It can also shoot 4K 120 frames per second, but A7IV only 4K 60. A6700 has a lot better object recognition thanks to its new AI features, has focus bracketing, which also enables the stacking of images, video time-lapse, screen reader function, log shooting, and probably more stuff that I haven't discovered fully. With that being said, sometimes you do get more out of a cheaper APS-C camera that just came out versus a well-established full-frame camera. By the way, editing software also plays a crucial role in your final results, so if you're a retoucher who has a heavy photo work, tools like Evoto AI can significantly help you get better results, especially with their advanced AI features. Let me show you. For example, here I have Carlotta with some eye wrinkles due to the sun, so once we go to the portrait, retouching software recognizes the subject and whole editing just becomes as easy as sliding these sliders. One for blemish removal, the other one for eye wrinkles. Look at the difference. Oh, you want to lighten those dark circles and remove eye bags? Boom. And here is the before and after. For men, you can also remove all the imperfections, and cool thing, protect the beard so it doesn't become soft. Want to replace that dull sky or the whole background? There. You can then save this as a preset and simply sync to all your images. And check the link in the description and get 30 free credits to play around. Of course, there is a reason why APS-C cameras are cheaper. Manufacturers do have to cut some costs. And main thing that really attracts people to full frame is sharpness and low light performance. Let's see the sharpness first. suit for yourself, not a scientific test by all means, but the shot on the left is with an APS-C camera, full frame on the right. Full frame cameras are supposedly sharper, and I'm not saying they aren't, but do you see the difference when zooming into 100%? My opinion, the newer generation cameras like the Sony A6700 are quite capable with plenty of resolution to deliver sharp photos with their 26 megapixel sensor versus the 32 megapixel on A7IV. Eventually, I think the biggest difference is made by your choice of lens, so I would rather invest in a nice glass. And for the low light, full frame cameras are better in low light, that's a known fact. On paper, A7IV has one stop of extra sensitivity compared to A6700, but let's test it with just simple ISO test and start with ISO 800. Here's ISO 1600, ISO 2500, ISO 3200, 6400, and lastly 12,800. And just to be fair to Team Full Frame, if you take A6700 and A7IV as a quick comparison, here are a bunch of things full frame cameras are usually much better at. A7IV has dual card slots, and one also works as CF Express A slot to load high capacity, high speed cards such as this Angelbird 1TB card. Regarding the ports, A6700 has a micro HDMI while A7IV has full-sized HDMI port, and additionally A7IV has micro USB port. The viewfinder is slightly better on A7IV. A7IV also has few extra custom buttons and a joystick, as well as another wheel, and generally offers better ergonomics. The IBIS is 5.5 stops, while on A6700 it is 5 stops. Would you be able to tell the difference? Alright, conclusions. All in all, of course, full frame cameras are in many ways superior, but when all I had was APS-C camera, I tried so hard to convince myself that I really need a full frame and it's just so much better. But the reality is that for most casual shooters, they just simply won't notice the difference due to shooting conditions, or won't be able to use all the advantages full frame cameras offer. And surprisingly, cameras like A6700 with its solid weather sealed body, in-body stabilization, all the new features and surprisingly good performance just makes that gap between the full frame and APS-C a lot smaller. But please mention your favorite advantage APS-C cameras have over the full frame, as I'm sure I forgot to mention something, and whatever you will choose, full frame or APS-C, it will be a good choice. Just keep on creating, and I see you in the next one. Bye.